right. I think it's working. Jake, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. All right. People in the comments section, let us know if you can hear. Looks like the video played. I checked on YouTube. So again, we've never done this before. We're testing it out. So we're looking for feedback. Give us an idea on audio and all the things, because I've never used this before. This is I actually got this from Mover. This is what he started using. I'd never heard of this, so he introduced me to it, and yeah, I've spent way too much money on it, so I'm trying to make sure it's working good. I've got Jake here, who is going to help out and be my quant, my Jamie, and help me manage things. So what tonight is just, and I'm sorry, I'm looking at the chat. I'm just making sure that we're getting good feedback. So going forward, the idea is obviously we're going to do the podcast here live like this. This is more of a test because we're going to do the first one on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Here. And I've already talked to my guest. He's lined up. It's going to be awesome. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. He was my old commander when I was a warrant officer. He was actually the guy that was with me when I got shot. So it's going to be interesting. We're going to talk about that because honestly, he and I have never really talked about it before that I can think about, like maybe just a little bit, but not in depth. And he's done great, wonderful things in the Army. He's retired recently. So we're going to talk about stuff like that. And then what I'll do is take that, turn that into the podcast, publish it for people who just want to do that deal. And then probably chop up if there's any interesting bits, kind of put that on YouTube. So that is the plan. Tonight, again, is just kind of us using the system, making sure that things work, like the intro videos and all that nonsense. In fact, I forgot to set up the outro video. I think I've got one. Did I make one, Jake? I don't remember.
Yeah, you did. I'll get it ready.
Oh, okay. Cool. Do you have it? Did I give it? I sent it to you. Oh, we shared it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. God, we're so good at this.
We're professionals.
Yeah, just totally professional. And then what Jake is going to do too is, because when I'm interviewing, like I'm looking at the chat now, I'm just kind of catching up. I'm not going to do that during the interviews. It will throw me off. I won't be able to concentrate. So it's really going to be like me focusing on talking to Matt, and whoever else. I've got a bunch of other people lined up as well. But Jake will be covering down on the comment section and then highlighting comments and questions. Once again, I'm going to be focused on the interview. So questions, you may ask a question. I see somebody's asking about German Tigers. We'll get to that in a second. I'm not going to be able to grab them necessarily like that because it's going to break up the flow of the interview. So what I'll try to do is, I've got some talking points. We'll focus on the interview. And then when we get some lulls in the conversation, Jake can pull some of those out. So you may get your question on the show. You may not. I will tell you, if it's a super chat, of course I will answer it just because you did the thing. I know that sounds transactional, but if you're putting money down, of course I'm gonna take care of you. But even if you don't, they ask a good question and Jake finds it, he's gonna grab it, he's gonna pull it out. In fact, Jake, why don't you try that, because we've not messed with that. So grab.
Yeah, Fronto here's got a question.
Okay, there we go. Tigers. Cool, so it works. Yeah, German Tigers. No, I never worked with Germans at all. I saw them in Afghanistan, but I never worked with them. yeah, 9. I'm half German, so I don't know if that helps. That's about as close as I can get. I never saw any German Tigers, honestly. No. Let's see. Ugly Gamer says, that's awesome. I wanted more detail after interview with Mooch. Oh, about the whole getting shot thing. Yeah, we're going to dig into it. So that's my intent. And I hate it because, like, I don't want to say I don't like talking about it. I don't care, but I feel like I've talked about it so many times, and it happened like 20 years ago. So I've told that story more than once. But even on like podcasts and stuff, like even on Mooch's, I don't think Mooch knew that I'd been shot, and it just kind of came up and I saw like the complete pivot. It was kind of funny because that's not why I was there. He wanted to talk about Apache stuff. And then, like, as we were just talking, I mentioned that, and then like that became like the focus. So that wasn't my intention. But we will dig into it. I want to talk about like the lead up to that. In fact, it's interesting. You guys can see, maybe, let me see. back here is actually my Purple Heart and stuff. But that picture, and we'll show it more later, but there's actually a picture. We took that picture literally like an hour and a half before I got shot. So it was kind of interesting. Yeah, in fact, I'm going to be on Mover's show Monday night again. So if you're not watching the Mover and Gonky show, definitely go check that out. But I'm going to be on that one again. And what I told him, because he's like, bring your own topics whenever you come onto there. So one of the things I thought would be cool is, because we get all this like, you know, stuff that we put on the walls and stuff. I thought that might be interesting to like, hey, what are your favorite things that you got from, you know, whatever, you know, units or stuff that you were in. So that's what my topic is going to be. So I got to take some pictures, but that's going to be one of them, because that flag actually has a bullet hole in it, strangely enough.
That's a good one.
And
not a question.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, not a question, but I like anything that has to do with praise, because I'm vain, because I'm a pilot. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I needed to just step back from it for a little bit. I honestly had intended to stay away from it longer. But I did have a lot of people reach out to me and say they wanted it back. And I was like, well, too bad. And then I was talking to Mover, like I was on a show not too long ago. And then just, I've been talking, you know, we talk every now and then, but talking to him and stuff. And I was like, you know what, maybe this is the way. Because I had wanted to do something like this with the podcast, like have occasional live shows with it. But I just never pulled the trigger. And so then I was like, you know what, that's what I'm going to do. I still have the challenge of getting people on, but I think that's going to be the other pivot in the show. Because a lot of times what I was trying to do is find people that could come on and tell interesting stories or whatever. What I have noticed in doing this is that helicopter pilots are a lot less prone to talk. It's harder to get guys to come on. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they're just being shy or if they just don't want to talk about it, you know, whatever. They're not as bombastic, I guess, as some of the fixed wing guys. Cause I never really had a problem getting a fixed wing guy in the show. So that's what, so that was my challenge. And so what I've decided to do instead is I'm going to focus on people I know. So pretty much everyone I've got lined up that I could probably milk this out for another year, 8 months or so. They're all people I know. And people that I think are going to have some interesting stories. And of course, this kind of venue to make it a little bit more fun as well. Are you going to talk about DCS on your podcast? Not really DCS. I mean, I'm sure it'll come up if it's the right person. Like, not everyone that comes on the show plays DCS or has even heard of it. I am talking to Natso, the F-15 SME, who I did a video with a while back. We've been trying to get back together, but he's been busy, and then I was at work, and now he's busy again. So I would like to get him on the show, but it would be more focused on talk about an F-15 and all that stuff, because I love the F-15 Strike Eagle. It's one of my favorite aircraft growing up. So that is a plan moving forward. We just got to get the timing sequenced out. But DCS is not going to be like a focus of the podcast. I mean, again, this podcast has been around since, gosh, almost 3 years at this point. And it's always been focused on real life. That's kind of the point of it. So I know some people are probably concerned because I posted the other day that I'm kind of taking a step back from DCS. That's, again, kind of the same thing with the podcast. Like, I have to kind of get my mind right. There's one thing about content creation, which is it almost becomes like addictive. Like, you just do it a lot and then you can't not do it. And then you kind of, I don't want to say run out of ideas, but you kind of run out of things to do. You run out of steam, and that's kind of where I'm at. And when I look at the view counts and I think about how much time I put into making a normal video, not a tutorial. Tutorials are a pain. I don't like doing them. But doing a normal video, it's still hours and hours of work. And it gets like, 6,000 views or something, which is good. I got it. There's a lot of people that love to have 6,000 views, but when you're a channel this large and you only have 6,000 views, that's actually not great. So it's just kind of one of those, like, okay, I've got to figure out how to devote my time, because I'm on the road like 18 days a month with my job. I get a lot of editing done when I'm on the road typically, but it still means for those time periods where I'm home, I'm busting my butt to get stuff created. And that's hard when you have, like, real life, family and all that stuff going on as well. So those are my challenges. Let's see.
There's a good one from Stuart. Speaking of your job, you've kind of touched on this before, but it's a good question here.
Flown helicopters. Well, yeah, I mean, it's all perspective, right? So helicopters was hard because I'd never flown a helicopter. I'd had like a little bit of time. I was a Civil Air Patrol cadet as a, gosh, I was like 13 or something. And they would fly us around in Cessna. So like I got to fly it and stuff. And of course I grew up playing flight simulator. So I understood flying. But getting into a helicopter and learning how to hover is probably one of the most challenging things. You think back to when you were little and you rode a bike. It's kind of the same thing, just that if you fall off the bike, you die. It's kind of like that pressure of hovering. It is hard. But just like riding a bike, like once you get it, it's like suddenly, you get it. We call it finding the hover switch. For the airliners, it's been an easy transition to go from helicopters to flying jets. The challenge is that jets don't hover, right? So slowing down, but not getting too slow. And the problem with, like, just the other day, in fact, yesterday, I flew into Greensboro. I was finishing my trip, and we fly kind of slow. 737s are old. Like the one I was flying is like 40 years old. But we had this, what do you call it? Private jet was like behind us. So ATC was making us go faster than normal. So we were doing the arrival, much faster. And of course, once you get below 10,000 feet, you got to get below 250, but still we were kind of booking. And then just trying to figure out that right time to start slowing down, throwing flaps out, throwing gear out. And they kind of brought us in real close to the approach. And I had to kick off the autopilot because it was going to blast right through. I mean, we kind of did blast right through the ILS. It was visual, but we usually leave the autopilot on and let that stuff kind of sort itself out, but we couldn't. So I just had to kick off everything and just kind of yank the aircraft back over. But just understanding when to slow down and stuff is probably the hardest part with commercial jets, especially coming from the helicopter background. Not on Twitch anymore. No, I am. I just haven't had a chance. Like last month, I worked right up till almost the end of the month, and then I had a whole bunch of stuff to do, and then I immediately started the first of this month. So I'm actually done as of yet. Well, technically today was my last day at work, but I came home early, and they don't know that, so don't tell them. So I'm off for the rest of this month, and then we're bidding now for next month. So I don't know what that's going to look like. If I get what I want, which I did this month, I probably will be off for the first 12 days of next month. So that's weird. So that's gonna be like a whole month of not flying, which is tough for me because I'm not very good at it. I'm not very good at the jet. I mean, I'm good at it, but it's always something different. And every captain you fly with has a different like technique. And so it's hard to learn and get a consistent way of doing something because you'll do something that worked with the last guy and then this guy doesn't like it. So he'll start fiddling around with the buttons and stuff. So it's hard to get like a rhythm. I think it's one of those things where until you're a captain yourself, you're never going to do it the right way. You're just going to do it a way, and they're going to nitpick you. Which arguably, I guess when I was a pilot in command flying Kiowas or Pat, I was probably the same way with a junior guy. Like, no, don't do that. Slow down or do whatever. So anyway,
what else? German friends.
So yeah, I do want to do Twitch. You're one of the most interesting YouTubers. Well, I thank you. I appreciate that. I am a German Patriot vet and love your stuff. Awesome. What did you? Well, I know at least it used to be. Maybe it still is. Does everyone in Germany have to serve? Like there was a time period you have to do like 2 years or something. Because I have family over there. I know I had like a cousin. He did 2 years. I think he was a communications guy or something. So I'm just curious if that's still a thing. And what you did. F-15 strike packages. Yes, I love the F-15. I think that's a really cool jet. I'm really enjoying I say I'm really enjoying it. I haven't touched it in forever, but the DCS one. In fact, I still have the parts for the throttle here. This is the other one. They sent me two. I guess I should give one away. I'll give one away. I haven't decided what I'm going to do because I have it sitting over here. I kind of use it still. I've gotten used to it. I don't know that I'm a huge fan of the Orion base because I don't like the buttons being kind of forward. They're kind of hard to get to. But other than that, I mean, it's a great bit of kit. I do like my VKB or my Virpil. VKB is also coming out with a throttle. I've been talking to VKB for months, and supposedly mine is in the mail or going to be on the mail soon. So we'll get a look at that soon. And then maybe if I have the time and a wild hair, I'll compare the three together and see. So we'll see. It's exciting. What else? Apache question. Does the current Apache, are you talking about for DCS? It does not. I don't think it's going to. In real life, yes. But we didn't get it until 2017, 2018, I think. I'm trying to think when my last deployment was 2018, and we started getting them, but they're expensive. I mean, a rocket itself is cheap because it's just a rocket, but to add on all the crap to make it an APKWS makes it very expensive. Still cheaper than a Hellfire, and I wish if we would have had them throughout the global war on terror type stuff, it would have been a very different scenario in a lot of ways, because we could have carried a lot of stuff. Because shooting rockets at dudes, especially in like an urban environment, not a good choice. Some people did it. I did not. But having something that's guided like that is beautiful. They are very accurate. I watched a dude take one to the chest. They do a very good job. But in DCS, no, I don't think they're gonna do that. Now the Kiowa in DCS is gonna have the APKWS, from what I understand. So
another one of our German friends. You're very popular in Germany, it seems.
Well, yeah, it's my background. I'm pretty sure they abolished the compulsory military service. Okay. In the German Navy, the Kriegsmarine, right? Am I right? Yeah, it was interesting being because my grandparents were German. Well, my grandmother says she's Prussian. She would never say that she was German. She was Prussian. I don't, whatever. And then my parents, Jesus, what am I trying to say? That was my mom's parents, and then my dad's parents were from New Jersey. But my dad's dad was a Sherman guy. He was a tanker. He was in Africa, and then when they invaded, Europe from the south, so up through Italy and stuff. In fact, there's a picture of him. You can't really tell it's him, but we know it's him. He was on the first Sherman that rolled into Rome after, I guess they took over. But then my mom's dad was, he was younger, so he didn't serve, but he was, basically it was towards the end of the war. And let's see if I can get the story correctly from what I remember, is basically he was always interested in sailing and stuff. So he wanted to be in the Navy. So they had that was a Nazi thing. I think Kriegsmarine. I don't know if they changed it. I didn't know. Well, he wanted to be in the Kriegsmarine. So he showed up for his draft day, or, whatever, like he turned 17 or whatever it was. And they're like, well, what do you want to do? And he's like, oh, I want to be in the Navy. And they're like, okay, cool. Come back on Tuesday and we'll swear you in. So he comes back with all these other dudes, and they swear him all in, and they're like, congratulations, welcome to the Waffen SS. And he's like, what? But then the war basically ended, and they were like, okay, you're not even going to do anything. So Kriegsmarine is, what is it called now? Is it just like, what's the German name for Navy? I don't know. What does it say? In Austria, you still have to do mandatory military service. Okay. I've been to Austria. Where did I go? I went to, shoot. We went down south, where Bundesmarine. Yeah, that's right. Why didn't I think of that? That's right. Hitler had his little thing up on the mountains, and then like Austria is right across the way. That's where we went. And we had that what is it called? Soccer torta? I think that's like that big thing. Yeah. The draft has been suspended in Germany. Suspended. Good point. Let's see. How do you cast my hello question? Wait, I thought I missed something else. Hang on. Who was in the air? Somebody said something about the Air Force.
Let's see. Back up here, Albert had a question about why not go to the Air Force then?
Who, me? I don't know. I wasn't smart enough. No, I wanted to growing up. Honestly, I'm glad I didn't, because I'm too tall. Like, I've talked to people who flew in the Air Force, and I would have never flown in the Air Force. I did not study hard in high school at all. My grades were terrible. It's kind of how I got into the Army, not because I was stupid, but I wanted to join the military, and I could not get into college. Like every college I applied to was like, "No, your grades are garbage." One school said yes, and it was a military school. It was an army kind of focused military school, and so they took me in. And it was a great experience for someone like me who didn't apply himself, and so they like had you forced study hall times at night from like it was like 7 to 9 at night. Like you had to be in your room, the doors were open, you had to be like studying and stuff, and like they would really come around and check. And it was really like focused on getting you smart and focused on you studying and focusing on that. So that really like I went from like crappy grades to like decent grades. And then I commissioned there and went into the army. And originally I was on tanks. I was an M1 guy. So that's how I got started with the army. So I actually looked into the Air Force years later, like after I was a pilot. I actually talked to the Air Force recruiters, or like the we call them branch managers in the army. I guess they're like career managers or whatever, for like the A10 career manager guy. And at the time, the Air Force was just hemorrhaging pilots, and he was like, "There's no way I could get you into," because I've known guys who've done that, who've left the army and gone into the Air Force to fly jets and stuff. In fact, when I was being evacuated from the States, there was the C-17 that I was flying on when I was wounded. He had been a Black Hawk pilot. He came down and talked to me, and he brought me back up to the cockpit when we landed and stuff. So it was pretty cool. But so I did look into it, but again, talking to people, like I'm 6'4", 6'5" with my boots on, like I couldn't even fit in some of those jets and shit like that. So anyway, what did I say? Howdy, Casma, heli question for you. Do you hope to see a variant of the Venerable Cobra? I would like to see a modern Cobra, because I think my problem with the old school Cobra is it's kind of a one-trick pony. That's just my opinion. It's kind of like the Hind, just carry a bunch of rockets and just go dump them on something. That's cool. It's fun, but I'd rather have something that's a little bit more advanced with sights and, different things like that. So that's my opinion. Barundus is here. What's up? You got your German draft notice along with your sector or notice. Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, that was like 1,000 years ago too. When you turned 18, that was like, they were still called the Kriegsmarine when you turned 18. Birch's Garden, that's it. Yeah, that's the name. I forgot about that. Our military draft is only 6 months. My goodness, like what can you do in 6 months? Learn how to march? How does airline pilot cockpit operations compare to driving the Apaches? The airline industry is very different than what Brundus and I would be very used to from the military. Brundus, if you don't know who Brundus is, he flew. We were together actually at the 82nd. He flew Kiowas, and then Brundus, you got transitioned to Apaches, but you didn't really fly them operationally, right? I think you went to school, and then by that time you were working desk jobs and stuff like what happens to all of us eventually. But the airline world is weird because in the military, you basically know everyone. Like I would know Barundus, and we'd kind of know each other, and we'd go fly. You had a relationship. In the airlines, like I show up to the plane the first, and I don't know this captain. I don't know him from Adam. Like maybe I've flown with him before. Like I can kind of see on the schedule, like, oh, I remember that guy. Sometimes it's a brand new dude. And so that's very strange because you don't know necessarily what his particulars are. In fact, I told the guy I flew with last time, I always like to let the captain fly the first leg, because they always like, "Well, do you want to fly this one?" I'm like, "No, I want you to, because I want to see what you do." Because some guys like to use vertical speed, some guys like to use level change and things like that. But it's very regimented. There's very set like call outs, like you're gonna say this at this time. Here's the checklist. The only thing I didn't like, I've gotten used to it. I still don't like it, but it's called flows. They like to do flows. So for instance, he's like, okay, let's do the before start flow or the before start checklist. I immediately go up and I start flipping some switches, right? So I turn on the fuel pumps, I set the hydraulic panel, and I turn on the anti-collision light, and then we go through the checklist. I'm okay with that. There are some flows that are really long, and it's not that they're hard, but they're so long, and especially when you're new and you're learning, it's easy to miss something. And so that's what I don't like, because it may not necessarily be on the checklist, but it's on the flow. So you take off, you're like, oh, we never turn on the weather radar, which is not a big deal. But if you don't turn on the weather radar, you may not get the wind shear alerts and stuff like that. So it's a little weird.
Thanks for the support, A-Rock.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Found your concept remover, Ngonki. Yeah, cool. Yeah, like I was saying earlier, I'm going to be on there Monday night is the plan, unless Mover kicks me off, which is possible. But we haven't talked in a few days, but I'm assuming I'm still there. But yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for the support as well. I saw something about F-35's tall people. Thank you, System Unknown. Deuce is, I don't know who Deuce is. He's probably not my Deuce, because the guy I know that's Deuce is not 6'4". Yeah, I think F-16s there was a pretty low. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe things have changed. I don't know. I know I barely made it in Kiowas. Or I barely made it in Army Aviation. In fact, I had to cheat a little bit because they said I was too tall. Sitting height. Because that's the thing too. It's not about your standing height, it's your sitting height, right? So I'm long. And so your sitting height is important. So I think the Army's requirement was 101 centimeters sitting height. So basically your ass to your top of your head. I was 102 when he measured me. So the guy had already done through all the stuff, and then he like, all right, let's do your sitting height. He measured me. He's like, all right, you're disqualified. And I'm like, what? And he's like, well, you're too tall. And I'm like, well, how tall am I? And he says, well, you're over by 1 centimeter. And I was like, do it again. And I just squirted down like this. And he measured me and I passed. So it could be a sitting height thing. I know that they need short guys for a lot of that stuff, but I don't know who Deuce is. But my Deuce is short and he pooped in the cockpit. I'll have to get him on here to share that. He was on the podcast, but I left that part out of the main podcast because I thought it might be a little bit, to people. Brenda says, I was so senior there weren't any jobs. Yeah. You asked to go to Korea as a CW5. Branch told me, sorry, the only 2 jobs for W5s and they're both taken. Yeah. I never got to fly in Korea. I was a tanker there, or I was a mortar guy, technically. That's what I did. Let's see. Captain, I can't say that word. Yeah, in 6 months, they can barely learn anything. Yeah. 6 months is not a lot of time. I mean, I don't know how long Branch or what do you call it? Our basic training is. I guess it's not 6 months, I guess, but Deuce is Mover's friend. Oh, okay, that guy. I didn't know. I haven't watched that one, so I don't know who he is. So he's tall. Oh, good for him. Any tips for the SIFT? Well, I mean, when I took it, it wasn't called the SIFT, so that tells you how relevant my experience is with it. I think Brennus will back me up on this. The best thing you can do, like what I did when it was called the AFAS, is I went to the library and I got the study guide. Yeah, exactly. Just go to the study guide, because, and I don't know how the SIFT is now, but there were some weird questions like dots with lines and weird shit like that. And it's not that the questions are hard. It's that if you open that test and that is the first thing you see, you're going to spend time trying to figure out what the hell you're supposed to do. And you're wasting time, because it is pretty time intensive. At least it was. I don't know, again, how it is now. So exactly what Bernus is saying is like, just practice the questions, if for no other reason than you understand the question, so that you're not surprised by anything that you run across. That's what I would say. And I'm sure Bernus agrees with that. When is the Kyra releasing? 2 weeks. F-16s are small. Yeah, every F-16 person I've ever seen is small, but I know that there's a couple like people on YouTube and stuff who are like F-16 dudes and they're kind of tall. I don't know how tall Mover is. I've never asked him. I feel like that's a rude question, especially when you're tall. It's rude to ask people. That's all. Will you keep flying a 737? I mean, I love the 7.3. I really do. It's fun. It's sporty. It's small, but it's still big. It is weird, especially to do like pre-flight and you walk around and you just get behind the tail, especially on an 800 because it's a lot taller. And you're just looking up at it. And you're like, holy crap, it's not like a pre-flight that I'm used to doing. Like in the Army, you're crawling all over the aircraft, you're crawling up on top of it, you're opening all these panels. You don't really do that in the airline. You just kind of walk around and look at it, and climb up in the wheel well and kind of look around and stuff. But I love the 7.3. I would love to fly something big. Like I'd love to fly a 747 just to say I flew it. Really, I just want to land it because I think it'd be cool. But the problem with those big planes, like I do not have the ass to sit for like 8 hours. I don't want to do any flights where I have to have a relief crew on board. So the trip I've been doing the past month or so is basically Greensboro, North Carolina to Ontario, California, which is LA. And it's just back and forth. It's like a five-ish hour flight. That's about as much as I like to do. We do 5 hours to Ontario. We sit the next day and chill, and then the next day we fly back, and then just kind of start it all over again. It's not that bad, but that's about as far as I want to go. So I don't really want to fly anything bigger necessarily. Maybe when I get older, they have better cockpits, I guess. But we'll see. I'm trying to get into American. That's where whatever American wants me to fly, and it gets me to the base I want, I'll fly it. That, to answer your question. Did I ever go to Italy? No, I've never been stationed in Italy. I've gone to Italy. I went to Rome when I was in my early 20s. The wife and I went. It was beautiful. I'd love to go back. But I've never like been to Italy beyond that. When you're getting picked for flight school in the Army, do they care if you have your associate's degree? No, I don't believe so. I think that was the beauty of Army aviation for the longest time, is you didn't need a degree, and I don't think that that's changed. Yeah, I see somebody says it helps. Of course, I think that probably could help you. At the end of the day, and this is not just aviation, this is just anything in life, right? What differentiates you from the next guy who maybe looks just like you, right? The cookie cutter. If I hold up your resume and somebody else's resume, what differentiates you? And sometimes it could be a degree, but no, it didn't matter. I mean, I had my bachelor's anyway, so yeah. How did you transition from aviation to aviation from armor? Paperwork. That was 100% it. Paperwork. I had to get letters, and I had to fill out some stuff, and I had to take the flight physical, and that was it. It was actually pretty simple. It was simple back then. I think it's changed, so it's not simple now for people to do what I did, because I know I'd met people who couldn't even do it. They were denied. It's all about timing. The military is all about timing with stuff like that. Is there an availability for whatever you're trying to get into? If there is, then it's real easy. If there's not, then you're fighting an uphill battle. So yeah, Verona Stevens says, yeah, it depends on the timing. That's the challenge. VR, what is, I don't do VR a lot. I've actually got it right behind me here. And I think I'm getting that Pimax one to test out. I was told I was, but I haven't seen it. Whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's good. Look, when it comes to DCS, the challenge is not, does it look real or any of that stuff? It's all about how you use it. And I think Brenda's could probably back me up on this. Like, the challenge in combat flying is not necessarily the flying. It's all the communication, it's the coordination, it's just the dealing with all the things that change. And the problem with DCS, the problem with any game, it's not just a DCS thing, it's any of those games. It's how dynamic is the scenario that you're in. Now, I will tell you, and I don't want to share too much because it's kind of hush-hush, but I was introduced to something today that somebody sent me the demo for, and it's a mod that kind of deals with mission making. It was very exciting, and it's going to add a lot of dynamic stuff. So I actually got a link for it today. I'm going to play around with it myself. When it gets a little bit more mature, we'll share it. It's absolutely mind-blowing. Like, I was just watching the demo that the guy sent me and my jaw dropped. I was like, this is ridiculous. This is amazing. This is what I've wanted forever. So hopefully we'll get that going. I work at Ramp with Delta 11737. Oh, do they do the tail stand for the 900s? Really? See, we don't have any. We have 800s. That's the highest we go. We have 300s and 400s. I've got a lot of time in a 300, and then a little bit of 400, and then a little bit of 800. But yeah, the tail stand. That's what Southwest does that all the time with the tail stand. I see that down in Cuba when they come down into Havana. Let's see. I've probably seen your plane a couple times. Well, if you ever see a pure white plane with the blue tail, in fact, Jake, let's test this. How about this? We're going to test the stream because you're my Jamie. Google,
Jamie, pull it up.
Yeah, pull up see if you can find a Swift Air or iAero, IAERO. See if you can find a plane, and then see if you can change the screen and pull it up.
Let's see if we can do that without sharing the Gmail and everything.
Yeah, well, you should just be able to present and then share screen, and then it'll let you pull up a particular window. I was playing with it earlier.
Ah, there we go.
There we go. See? There we go. So that's our plane. So if you ever see a plane that looks like that, those are the planes that I fly. We have a lot of old Southwest planes. We have a lot of we got planes from all over. You can tell by the tail number, like they have like different codes and stuff. And it's like, oh, that's an old Southwest bird or whatever. Bruna says VR is a huge detractor to all the stuff Chasm just talked about. What do you mean detractor? I find the VR to be a game changer. Makes a lot of stuff we do. The problem with VR and DCS is that sort of spaghetti code type situation. It wasn't until I got this new computer built with like the 4090, like it's just completely balls to the wall. VR was awesome. And I think it depends on what you do. So like if you're up high flying around doing that kind of stuff in your VR, I think it's great. If you were down low doing stuff like I like to do, VR was a pain in the ass because it would just it didn't render stuff as well. Like you couldn't find stuff on the ground. I could find stuff in the air, great, and that was wonderful. So I could understand like the dogfighting dudes, they love that stuff, but I think for the ground stuff, it's really hard until you get like a supercomputer, and then it's good.
Andrew showing us some love here. Thank you, Andrew.
Oh, thank you, Andrew. Yes. Have you checked out 6 Days? I have not. I've heard good things about it. Who was I talking to? Oh, Devil Dog Gamer was playing it, and we were talking about it. He said it was really good because he was like a ground marine guy, so that's all his stuff. But no, I haven't. Man, I barely have time to play anymore. That's kind of why, like, again, why I'm sort of pulling back from DCS, because I had no time to do stuff like that. Like just do something for fun. It's always just like make content, you know. And I was having fun with the F-15, making the tutorials and stuff, because I was learning the F-15. I really enjoyed that. But at the end of the day, I'm just like, I'm not doing stuff for me. So maybe I'll have to check it out. It'll be a tax write-off for the company. I'll just show a video with it and see, I used it for the company. What is that about the go up? What was that? Do I think the H-64 flight model? What's that, Jake?
Oh, I was gonna pull this one up for Goodman just because he's chasing the dream.
Oh, I'm in a WAF process right now, straight out of high school to flight school. Yeah. No, we had, a few guys in my class for that. It's a great opportunity. Some people kind of poop on Army aviation right now because it's hard to keep people in right now with the airlines being what they are. I've seen a lot of guys like in flight school talking about going to the airlines and talking about, I want to go to my dream airline. Let me tell you something. When you're 23 years old, your dream airline should be flying combat aircraft. You're 23, for God's sakes. Like, enjoy your life and do something dangerous and scary. The airline stuff will be there, and it's boring as hell. Yes, it pays well, but I am not like, I don't sit there and be like, this is awesome. You know what I mean? Like, takeoff is fun, landing is fun. The middle is awful. Now, my headset has a Bluetooth, so I just listen to music the whole time. But it's still boring as hell. So live your life, have some fun, do Army flying or whatever branch you want to do, and then do that. Yeah, there we go. Do you think the H-50 flight model is realistic? I think it is. It's gone through some iterations. I think when it first came out, it was really good. I think what happened, and I put out a video about it, and I got some hate from ED. It was fine, but they're like, well, this we did this, so it's accurate, blah blah blah. I think the problem was that the ground friction is the issue because it was sliding to the side. That was unrealistic. Like I had an argument with one of them. I was like, I've never slid sideways with the helicopter, just sitting on the ground. But I think it's a ground friction issue. I think generally speaking, though, it's pretty good. I think the challenge is the trim system in the Apache is complicated. It's not complicated, but it's complicated to then put into the video game world. Until you have a one-to-one, like if you've got one of those joysticks with like the force feedback, basically with a mag brake on it, you're never going to get that one-to-one. And so I think that's what makes it kind of hard for people. I mean, it's hard for me. I just make it look easy, but it is hard. Skid just says 6 days is solid. Well, I believe him. Do you ever really assume Microsoft? That has been the eternal question. Will I play Microsoft Flight Simulator? I did it one time. I downloaded it. I fired it up on stream, which was probably a bad choice. I do not like the user interface of that game at all, and I raged quit the stream and deleted it off my computer and got my money back. I would like to go back to it. In fact, I was looking at it the other day. I was like, I should probably do it, if for nothing else than to practice like some procedures in the 7.3. Because, like I said, I'm not very good at it. I don't know that I'll fly it on stream because I'd be embarrassed if I'd screwed things up. But I don't know. Probably. I wouldn't rule it out. Let's put it that way. Work with Baltic Dragon. Well, I mean, yeah, we spoke forever ago. In fact, I have a notepad here somewhere where I took notes. Like, we were gonna build a campaign. I think we still are, but his campaigns take like 6 to 8 months for him to make. He's still finishing, I think, like the Gamblers one with like the F-16 one. Then I think he's got another one. Like, he's always adding stuff to the daggum what do you call that one? What's the one with the F-18s? Raven 1. He's always like adding stuff to that. But we did come up with a plan for was that Iron Flag, the A-10 one, which was really good. I did some of it, but he puts way too long of flights, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. But it's like a training thing for the A-10. We wanted to do that with the 64. So we had an outline for that. I think it's really just a matter of him being free and then me, making the time to do it. So ugly game, I agree. Yeah, you gotta, that's the problem with DCS. You gotta have a supercomputer versus you go to IL2. I love IL2 with VR. That is the bee's knees. It's real good. Love the helmet in the background. Yeah, that's my helmet. I got another one over there. You can't see it, obviously, the Apache helmet, but yeah, that was my helmet. Yeah, I can't tell the story. I just have the helmet. Let's just acknowledge that I have it, and that's fine. I mean, they don't want it. I threw up on it and stuff. They don't want it back. When do you think the Apache will be retired? Never. I don't know. Not for a while. I mean, I don't think the plan is to like 2050 or something. I don't know, like a really long time. We're gonna screw those guys. Which guys? Who we screw? The guys that wanted my helmet back. They got a helmet back. I think I told you that story. After Army flight schools wrapped up, where the pilots sent, the deployments decision. So, and Brunus could speak to this better from how they do it now. But in fact, I think it's a big production now. But when I went through, and I'm sure when he went through as well, it was literally just like you in a room, and they came in, and you had what's called an order of merit list, the OML, and you were racked and stacked on the OML based on all your grades and your performance, and of course your PT score, because that's what's important. And then they would just be like, okay, John, you're number one. What do you want? Here's what we have. And he's like, oh, I want Hawaii. Okay, cool. Psh, Bill, what do you want? I want Carson. So that's how they do it. And then you go to your unit, and then you basically kind of start over, because you show up and you're a pilot, but then they got to get you like combat ready. Because really, flight school doesn't train you anything like combat related for the most part. You're just learning how to do stuff. And then you go to your unit, and like guys like Brundus, who are instructor pilots, they take you for the next several months, and they just fly the dog shit out of you. And you do all the unit level stuff and the collective stuff and things like that.
I skipped down ahead, and so Barundus was talking about the guys that are worried about the airlines while they're in Army flight school. Screw those guys.
Yeah, it's just so weird. It's the bandwagon sort of mentality right now, and I get it, but yeah, live your life, man. Don't be in a rush to be old. Trust me, it's not awesome. I'm going to sleep now, as it's 2:04. Wow, gosh, I hope you didn't stay up for this, because this was not worth staying up that late, unless you you have the day off tomorrow. But thank you for doing that. I appreciate you. And you sent me a DM. Okay, I'll check. How good is good enough for a flight model? Well, that's the eternal question, right? The beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I think if you're old like me, you remember, Knights of the Sky. You remember Red Baron. You remember all those games where it's like polygons and things are like boop, boop, boop. And so then you look at what we have now, and it's like, this is pretty awesome. And especially if you've ever gone to like a military flight sim, if you've ever gotten to an Apache Longbow cockpit trainer, or you've gone into what was that other thing we had, AvCat, it's garbage. It looks like ass. So to have DCS, even to have IL2, which is older and a little bit less refined, but still just good looking stuff. So I get very frustrated when I see people kind of bitch and moan about like the most inane things. You know, it's like, oh, the lighting on the cloud isn't perfect. Bro, you're not looking at the clouds. Like, you're not like in real life, like you're not worried about that kind of stuff. You're looking for dudes shooting at you, full stop. Like everything else is kind of, you know, just doesn't matter. So I don't know. But some people just have different things. Hey, what's up, Tex? How are you? Interface sucks. Yeah, I couldn't get past it, man. I couldn't even get the track IR to work properly. So, which reminds me, I need to, well, I have to play with it. I got that new track IR thing. What's that guy called?
Clip Pro.
Shouldn't even mention it. No, the guy, he's making them. Shoot, what's it called? Forget I said it. I'll figure it out later. We'll talk about it later. It's fine. After flying combat aircraft, figured out it's gonna be boring. Oh, it's 100% boring. Oh, it's so boring. It has its benefits. Don't get me wrong. Like, again, I got home yesterday evening. I'm off for the rest of the month. I don't have to answer my phone if the company calls. Like, I got to do nothing. So there's certain benefits to it. But I think if I was in my 20s doing it, I would pull my hair out. And yeah, there's a lot of earning potential. So there's definitely positives to it. But I don't know, man. Like, I would hate, I like the fact that I can look back at my life when I get even older than I am now and say I did some cool shit. I think that's worth something. Versus, oh, look how much money I made. Because I can tell you, I've been at points in my life where I've made decent amount of money, like money where I don't need to worry about money. It gets to a point where that's all you care about. It's like, okay, do I have enough money that I don't have to worry about money? Like, there's no point in being like super rich. Like, who gives a shit? Even I'd love to like have my own jet or something.
Casmo, is the private chat working between us? I wanted just to test that out.
Oh, I didn't even notice that you sent me. Okay. Cool. No, it's not that.
Right? Okay.
It's not that. Oh, I can't think of what it's called. Oh, now it's killing me. Anyway,
sorry.
It's fine. No, you're good. That's good. I wish it would ping or something. I'll have to remember to look for it. Well, I tell you what, when I'm doing interviews, I'll have the private chat up, and that way I'll know that you're pinging me. So again, folks, we're all testing this stuff. We're doing it live. Not a fan of Microsoft Flight Sim. They're coming out with another one now too, I think. X-Plane, if you have 4090, trust me, I get a good. Yeah, I mean, I get good FPS in DCS with the 4090. I was blown away, and with that multi-threading too, it helped out a lot. So I screw things up. DCS, Microsoft Flight Sim are super chill. Yeah, because the hardest things in like normal aviation are not hard. In fact, I was just thinking about this today. I was going for a jog and I was just kind of thinking about like the airlines, and I was thinking like my worst day in the airlines was, you know, like the biggest emergency is like, oh, the cabin's losing pressure, and the captain I'm with, he's like freaking out, and I'm just like, all right, like, so what? Like, it thinks we're above 10,000 feet. I've flown around at 10,000 feet with no doors on my aircraft. Like, our eyes aren't gonna pop out of our head or anything. And this guy's freaking out and stuff. So, you know, it's not hard. It's the easiest job I've ever had, and I used to work at Kentucky Fried Chicken, so the airlines are not difficult. But it is one of those things where it's all good right up until it's not. And you do spend a lot of time away from home. I mean, that's the way I look at it too. People get hung up on, oh, look how little I flew and how much I made. Yeah, but how much were you away from home? Period. That's the question you should ask yourself. How much were you away from home? And then do that math and figure out how much were you paid now. But anyway, Nevada map doesn't include NTC. Yeah, well, there's not much to see there either, but that would be interesting. I mean, you wish that it would, right? Because they just take off from Nellis. That's where they go bomb us. So anyway, no, it's a 30 Brundis, it's a 60-second delay from me talking to it hitting you, but we're trying to go through so much stuff. Yeah, it takes a while. A10 Warthog flight stick. I've never had that. Actually, somebody sent me one and I gave it away. Let's see. Do you need rudder pedals? Yeah. Honestly, I think so. I mean, if you want to have like the full experience with helicopters, you can get away with jets without doing the rudder thing. I think really to have helicopter to really enjoy it and not be driven crazy. Yeah, I think you need pedals. And I hate saying that because I think pedals are really expensive for what they are. But if you're gonna do it, I got the Virpil ones that have the toe brakes. I like that. I had the VKB ones and I love VKB. I just don't like those because they're just pedals. I like to have the toe brakes, but teach their own. OH58 Delta tutorials are released. Probably. I know Brunus is going to do some stuff too. I mean, I probably will. It's all about timing is for me. I hate doing tutorials. I really don't like doing them, and it takes a long time. And the problem with doing tutorials is there's always somebody that comes in a comment section and tells you what you forgot to do. And it just it gets frustrating. Or things change. That happened to me with the F-15. Like I put out a video and then like it released and they're like, well, no, that's wrong. I was like, well, yeah, well, it was right when I was doing it. Now I get it. It's wrong now. So loot clip. No, God, bro, it's killing me. What the I'm gonna have to like Google it. He makes he makes them. What the hell? All right. Y'all have driven me mad with this. I'm gonna have to look it up. I mean, I just talked to this guy not too long ago. Let me see if I can remember his name on Discord. Oh, here we go. I'm gonna scroll all the way up now. Nope, I still don't remember what it's called. Damn it. Anyway, I'll figure it out. I don't remember off the top of my head. Sorry, I don't want to spend a lot of time looking for. Yeah, absolutely. It is. Again, it's just sort of a bandwagon thing. There's a lot of guys, and don't get me wrong, it's great. It's a great opportunity because if you go back 10, 15 years, that opportunity didn't exist, right? Or it was very fleeting. It was difficult for helicopter guys to get into the stuff. So I'm glad that we are being recognized as people who can actually fly airplanes because it's not hard at all. And I will tell you, just about every captain I've flown with has made a comment about helicopter guys and like how good they are and how, there's no problems there. So I think that's great and all that stuff. But yeah, I think some guys get a little hung up on trying to get ahead of themselves. And I made a point the other day, like on the RTAG site, somebody was talking about, he was in flight school and he's like, oh, what do I do about this? I was like, you know what you should do? Worry about being a good Army pilot right now. Like, cause your bros left and right, like that's what you need to be worried about. Like you need to be technically and tactically proficient in flying, whatever it is you're flying. And that should be your focus because historically speaking, if you stay in the Army for the next 20 years, you're going to go to war. You probably should be good at that. I guarantee you will learn the airline stuff really fast. It is not hard. I mean, I got signed off on a 737 in like less than a month. It's like 3 weeks worth of training. He's like, oh, now you can fly a big jet. Okay. So it's not hard, but yeah, I think people should focus on where they're at. Live right now. And it's hard when you're young. I know, because I remember I was the same way. When you're young, you're worried about being old and you start kind of over planning, maybe. I don't know the right word. But when you're young, just be young and like live mas, like Taco Bell. Sear was fun. If you go into it dreading, yeah, Sear was fun. I hated it, but it was fun at the same time, right? Yeah. I'm trying to remember. Because I went through Sear B, and then when we went back, we had to go through Sear C with like the Camp Slappy and all that stuff. It sucked at the time, but when you look back at it, like we did some really cool stuff. And I think it's gotten even better now. But that's one of those great opportunities that you just gotta like just go into it, have fun with it, and don't almost break your leg like I did. Because then they'll make you recycle, and I did not want to recycle. Yeah. You've been binging all your podcasts on four different channels. Are you trying to boost my numbers? Because I appreciate that. That's what I need. I need boost numbers. You got to like and subscribe too while you're here. I'm obligated by YouTube law to say that. Like and subscribe. If you could fly any helicopter in the world, which one would it be? I don't know. I never really thought about it. Maybe something really big. Like what is the Mi-26? Maybe just for fun, just to say that I did. But I don't know. I think after flying the Kiowa and the Apache, like what else is there? Because they're both pretty awesome in their own way. People always ask me which one do you like better. I don't know, which do you like better? Kim Basinger or Jessica Alba. Like it's they're both awesome. So super stoked for the OH-58 Delta. Missoula in 04, 05. Okay. Yeah, I was in Missoula in 06. Yeah. I didn't make it to 07 because they shot me. It was right before 07. But yeah, Missoula's cool. And then I went back to Missoula in 2018 with Apaches. Well, we were in Erbil, but we'd fly over to Missoula. It looked very different after pushing ISIS out. But yeah, Missoula's an interesting town. It's one of those towns where, like, if it wasn't just full of bad dudes, it'd be cool to like just kind of check it out, because that had a lot of history there, right? I mean, that was Nineveh, right? That's where Jonah was trying to go, or I guess trying to run from, and then the whale swallowed him and spit him out, right? If you believe in that story, but that's where he was supposed to be going, was Nineveh, and it's still there, like the old walls and stuff and all that jazz. So yeah, very cool. Recently enlisted in aviation and guard in high school. I'm prepping for BCT, but for future reference, do most firing work. Expect to train further beyond. I don't. Are you asking? You should always do your best on the PT test. I don't know if that's what you're asking, but it seems silly, and it sometimes is silly. Do your best at all times, because again, like I was saying earlier, I don't know if you're here, but at the end of the day, if you and somebody else looks the exact same, what's differentiating you? I can tell you what, if your runtime is faster than his, you're gonna win. So didn't they change the new test again? I think they changed it. It was pretty easy for aviation. I remember taking that new one right before I retired, and I did like 2 pull-ups or whatever the hell we were supposed to do, and I got done. And the guy was like, "Oh, sir, is that all you're going to do?" I was like, "Bro, I only had to do 1. Like, I doubled the standard. Like, what do you want from me?" It's not a hard test. At least it wasn't. Running sucks. I hate running. I ran today. A lady ran past me today when I was running, and she's like, are you enjoying your run? Which I felt really bad, because she was shorter than me and probably older than me, and she ran right past me. But she's like, "Are you enjoying your run?" I was like, never at all. But I'm fat, and I don't want to be fat. What are the best servers to play? I don't know, man. I don't jump on servers all that often. We have a server that Thrud puts together, and he's got some interesting stuff. He loves man pads though, so be careful. Is it possible to go commission after flying warrant? Absolutely. I mean, you can kind of go either way, again, depending on the timing. At the end of the day, being a warrant officer is cool. I liked it. I think for some people, they want something different. Like, I kind of like change. I like jumping around and doing different things. I found being a warrant officer, at least in my experience at the time, was I was just kind of doing the same thing over and over. People will tell you that, oh, you're a commission guy, you're not going to fly that much. True, but you can still fly quite a bit. I flew quite a bit as a commission guy, even when I was a major, and I knew a lot of majors who were barely touching aircraft. I was flying twice a week. It's all about how you present yourself, and it's all about, do you make it a priority in your life? And it was hard. I mean, there were times where I worked a full day, and I wasn't supposed to do it, but I did it anyway. I worked a full day, and then I went to the flight line and flew it, till 1 a.m. Illegal as shit, but I did it because flying was a priority to me, and I needed to do it. To me, it was being relevant. It was being tactically and technically proficient. It was all the things that you're supposed to want to do. So you got to make it a priority. Whereas a warrant officer, it's kind of like that's what you're meant to do, and you're probably going to be doing it. But at the time, there's plenty of jobs that aren't flying that warrant officers also get to do. And I think that they should do. I think sometimes it gives them a rounded perspective on things that are going on. Those guys that just become like totally fixated on just flying all the time, they kind of sometimes lose sight of the big picture. And that can be difficult to kind of contend with when you're in charge of those dudes. Spotting baddies on the ground is not easy. Well, yeah, we kind of talked about that earlier. If you're in VR, it's definitely hard. In DCS, it's hard. I mean, just in video games in general, it's hard. Your eyes don't work the same as they do in real life. You know, like this is how bored I get when I fly in the airlines. The other day I was flying over somewhere in like Arizona, and we flew over this little town. And I literally started giving myself talk-ons. I feel like such a nerd, but I was like giving myself talk-ons to like, how would I talk someone onto that red building right there? And so I was like, okay, do you see the road intersection? Yes. Okay, follow the road intersection north along the road. Do you see the? And I was like doing this in my head just real quick as the plane flew by. I'm at like 30,000 feet, 35,000 feet, and I could pick out vehicles and stuff. In DCS, it's not as easy. Your vision isn't the same, because you're looking on a screen. So, so what's some tips? I get good. You know what I mean? Like it's hard. There's nothing you can do. You just have to keep working at it, and you'll figure things out. But I still get bamboozled many times in DCS. Let's see. Z-axis joystick. Don't waste money on pedals unless you want them. Yeah, I mean, of course you can do that thing. The challenge is, depending on the type of aircraft that you're flying, you're going to give yourself like, carpal tunnel syndrome. Like if you're doing something like the Apache, it's probably okay. But if you're doing something like the Huey, like I had the Huey long before I had pedals, and I hated flying it because I was like, I can't do this. So, do we get a shot? Yeah, but she can only fly from the left seat, but she can do everything. So it's beautiful. I can't use pedal, or I'm sorry, we missed one. What is that? I can't use pedals. I use an ancient Microsoft. Yeah, there you go. Whatever works for you. People always ask me, what should I do? Like, what should my curves be? What should I do? You should do whatever works for you and whatever makes sense for you. I definitely suggest, and I've done lessons for quite a few people with Apache in DCS, and 100% for everyone. And Jake's one of them. Put like a 20 curve on like everything. And yep. I've watched a instant change to whoever's flying, instant change to what they're doing. I think that worked for you as well, Jake.
Absolutely.
Okay, what else? Everyone's trying to guess what this clip is. It's killing me that I can't think of it. Track star, is that a thing? Look that up.
Yep, I'm on
for me. See if that's right. OH58 release date, 2 weeks. Yeah, it's not the Delon clip. I wish I could pull it out. That's it. 100%. That's the one. It's a wireless, but I haven't used it yet. I hooked it up to my thing, and I haven't even turned on my computer yet. Like I haven't even done any gaming since I've been home. I haven't played a video game in like a month. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Yeah, I don't like doing them. Because I don't like missing stuff, and I don't like it when people point it out that I miss something. But I'm sure I'll do some stuff with the OH58. I don't know, and sometimes DC or ED gives me stuff that I wasn't expecting, like the Strike Eagle. I was not expecting to get that from them to do anything, and then I was literally coming home from a trip, and the day I came home, Wags was like, here's your copy. And I started like getting into it, but I was like, I have like 2 weeks. There's no way I'm gonna get anything done. And then they had the delay, and it came out later. And I was like, okay, I have time now. And I started playing with it. And I was like, well, that's easy. So that's why I did the tutorials. If that was a complex aircraft, I would not have done tutorials. I couldn't wrap my head around. December. Maybe. I don't know. I honestly don't know. If I did, I couldn't tell you, but I don't know. What are the chances of an A model Apache? I would say probably 0, but I don't know. Everything is based off of availability of data. And that's what people kind of get butthurt about. Like, well, why don't we have the whatever if they don't have the data, right? I've talked to Wags. Like, I've asked him straight up, like, Cobra, let's go. When are we getting a Cobra? He's like, we don't have any data. We don't have stuff. The only reason they were able to do the Apache was because that TM, that manual, made it out into the space. which a lot of people don't give them credit. Like they built that off of the operator's manual. And I don't know if Brennus is still here, but he can kind of back you up. Like the operator's manual, like the pilot level manual, that's a very difficult way to create a system, because they're having to like reverse engineer like button switches and you know, and what does this button do and this and that and the other. Very difficult. So they did a really good job with that. But I don't think people give them a lot of credit for that. So I don't know about the A model though, to answer your question. How many flight hours do you have with everything combined? Well, it's funny you should say that, because I was just updating my airline application for American. I'm at like, here, I'll tell you right now. I'll pull it up. For the jet, I know I'm at like 397 hours with the jet. Total hours, I'm at like 3,000 something. Let's see what the old logbook says here. 3,060, not including simulator time. That would be like 3,100. So not a lot, a decent amount. Brennus has got like 6,000 or something, 5,000. He's got a lot more than me. Is flying rotary commercial a bad idea? There's not quite as opportunity to make money there, I think, is the problem. And everyone I know that does it, like, they don't really like their schedule. I'm curious to see in the next couple of years though if the income gap changes, because I think I know guys who left the rotary wing commercial side and gone to, I can think 3 right now, who've gone to the airlines, and that's going to be happening, right? So that industry is going to start hemorrhaging some people. And so I think that they're going to have to increase their pay. So we'll see what happens with that. Did I ever get to fly a tilt rotor? No, no, thank you. Would you fly the CH-40? I would fly anything other than a tilt rotor. I would fly anything, at least once, just for the story, right? I mean, but I don't have any interest in it, if that's what you're asking. It's so weird to look at the military as merely unpleasant stepping stone to get to the airlines when I was young. Absolutely, 100%. Like that's kind of what I was saying. Like your dream job should be flying in the military. The airlines is not my dream job. Like this is a job that pays the bill. Like I was talking to who was that guy? Paco, the F-14 guy that I had on the podcast a while back. I think it was him that said this, and he's like, I don't fly in the airlines because it's fun. He's like, I fly in the airlines because it allows me the freedom to do the things that I want to do. And his point being, he's like, he's got to leave for a couple of days. He makes a ton of money, and then he's home and he's left alone. And that's kind of my thing too. My schedule sucks. We work a lot, but this is kind of a stepping stone company, and I don't expect to be here hopefully that much longer. I'm going to be here like a year and a half, so I feel like I've done my bid for king and country. I hate running. Yeah, it's funny. The older I've gotten, the more I've appreciated it, but I've also gotten slower. So it is what it is. What do you think about the K-52? I don't think about it at all. I don't know. I don't know enough about it. I'd love to fly. I'd fly one. It'd be fun. I don't. Helicopters and ejection seats are strange to me, but I guess it works. Because they've proven it several times now in Ukraine. But interesting design. But I don't know enough to have an opinion if it's really good. My default, and I hate to say it, my default is whenever you tell me something's made in Russia, I'm like, it's probably not very good. But I could be wrong. Yeah, that was the thing, right? They had the tan or the gray ones. I have seen those flying around, or I had in the past. I don't know if they still have them that way, but I had seen that in the past. Very very different. I like the green. Have you ever watched Ryan who gets retired Apache pilot show Combat Story? I'm not aware of it, but I've never listened to it or watched it or anything. But I feel like I reached out to that guy, but I don't know. Could you explain the setup of Fat Cow Chinook refueling point versus Visual Farpers? Are no difference personally? I've never used any of them. I mean, are you talking like DCS? I mean, a Fat Cow, all it is like the Chinook lands, and it's got, I think they put like an internal fuel cell. I think they can also do it off their own fuel, but I'm not sure about that. But they'll carry like internal cell, or I guess they could sling load a blivet and drop it off, and then they just run the hoses out, and then you load up, get some gas. Century series. I'm not real good at knowing what falls into that. Is the F-105?
Yeah, the Thunder
Thud?
Chief.
I like that one. That's my pick because that's the only one I know. The other ones look stupid. I don't know. Like all those planes. Like I remember like fighter pilot podcasts. I'm like, oh, this guy flew the whatever, the Starfighter or something. I was like, that's a stupid looking plane. I don't know. I like how if things look cool, then they are cool to me. Oh, 100% with the 58s. Yeah, we're gonna do that. Well, we did that video like 1,000 years ago. It seems like at this point. Did you know anyone who became an Army pilot as a lieutenant? Well, yeah, I know plenty. I know plenty of guys. I know one who's about to make full bird colonel, but he started out as a lieutenant. We used to call him the one upper because he was such a smart ass. He's a good dude. I'm gonna try to get him on the show. He's a good dude, but he was very smart. He was a very smart kid. And as warrant officers, we had to put him in his place. So we gave him a desk with a computer monitor, and it had no computer. And I was like, this is your desk, because he was the XO, which didn't exist in aviation units. So it was a made-up job for him. How common are EMS flying jobs? I mean, there's a ton. They're all over the place. I have friends that did it. It sounds incredibly boring. It sounds like airline boring plus. Because you're only going to fly for like an hour, because you got like, basically the golden hour. So you only fly like an hour. You land on like a highway, which is my friend Cody, Brennus knows Cody, said like that's the coolest part. Sometimes you land on a highway and then you hang out for like 3 hours while the medics do stuff, and then you fly back another hour. So it doesn't sound good, and it doesn't pay well from what I understand. The schedule sounds like it sucks. So where are the flares located? They have the buckets down at the tail, at the end of the tail, and they shoot out forward ish. When you flew in the Army at night, have you ever experienced? There's more.
There must be. I don't see it yet.
There's more to this question. I'm
Come
on
back to Kevin.
Needles. Kevin, who keeps texting me? Oh, geez, the Union. The Century series. Yeah, I like the Thud. That's my favorite. They're big too. I saw one actually not too long ago up on stilts at Alexandria. It's huge. Oh. Do you think it's worth it to fly around 10 years of warrant officer and maybe consider? Yeah, well, things have changed, right? Because for me, I had a pension to work towards. They don't do that anymore, right? They've got that weird like 401k. So you can get out at 10 years and still get something. When I was in the Army, like if you got out at 10 years, you get a handshake. Like, all right, cool. Thanks for stopping by. So you got to kind of figure out what works for you. I will tell you, having a pension and having disability is beautiful. I wasn't able to fly for the airlines for like 2 months. I didn't care. Like I was making money. So that's why I say like people get hung up on the airlines. What you don't understand the airlines is you are one bad medical away from losing your job. And as you get older, guess what? Spoiler alert, stuff starts to break. You will come down with weird things. I've got a condition that is permanently grounding. If I wasn't already a pilot, I'd never be a pilot because of this condition that I got when I was like 39, just out of nowhere. Never even heard of it before. So things like that are going to happen. So prepare yourself for the eventuality that you may not fly forever. So do whatever you need to do to prepare for that eventuality as well.
Kevin came back to us.
He did. I see that. Vertigo. No, I've never had vertigo that I can think of. No. I think you could maybe get that like at night, like with the water, flying over the water. I think that's kind of one of the big concerns, but I've never had it. Does the comfort of flying big airlines make That's funny you say that, because we were like 4 hours into this flight the other day, and I got up, I went to we're flying cargo, but you still had the little compartment where like the flight attendants would hang out in front. So I go back there and I'd stretch. We had like meals given to us. I stretch a little bit. I take a piss. I come back in after 10 minutes later and I sit down. I was like, you know what I love though about this job is being able to do that. The guy laughed. But so yeah, that helps 100%. Yeah, I mean, it depends on which way you want to go. As a commission guy, you're going to do a lot of various other things. And again, it's going to be hard to stay in a cockpit, but I also had some really cool jobs, had nothing to do with the cockpit. So it depends on what you want to do. Somebody caught it live, just moved on to gunnery phase. Oh, nice. Oh, yeah, okay. We've talked on Discord. Yeah, 100%. Good. I didn't like gunnery phase for the Apache. It was just like work. It was just constant. The guy I flew with, the instructor, was like, "Sir, you get worse every day we come out here." I was like, "Bro, I'm tired of doing this. I've been here for 5 months. This is mind numbing." Do you think the 10-year ADSO will fix the shortage of Army pilots? No, I don't think so. No amount of money or any of that stuff's going to fix it. Culture is what's going to fix it. The Air Force has been proving to us for years that they throw money. Like, hell, I just read something the other day. The Navy, I think, is given like $100,000 bonus for pilots to take command jobs. Money doesn't keep people in the cockpit. Culture does. Letting them do the things that they joined to do. Now, granted, some of the stuff we did when I was a pilot, like in the early days, we ain't doing no more. Like drawing things on people's maps. Like, you do that now, you're going to get in trouble. But nevertheless, there has to be some culture change there. I think that's my opinion. Do you think the ground radar ad? I don't know. I never really used the ground radar in real life, so I guarantee it'll work better in DCS than it does in real life. So, yeah, 100%. If I was forced into BRS, I would have walked after. Yeah, again, I was one of those where I didn't need it, so I didn't really look into it. The pension is beautiful. Just immediately started getting paid as soon as I got out, so it was great. No, I never flew the Huey. In fact, I was supposed to fly the Huey in flight school because we had some for instrument phase, and then we had TH-67s. And since I was so tall, I was going to be in the Huey. But literally the class before mine, they were the last guys to do Huey stuff. So I was disappointed. I'm not a huge Huey fan. Like, I don't get all like excited about it, but it would have been cool to just have that in my logbook. Like, yeah, I flew a Huey. Oh, Reflected does a lot of more like older stuff. I can't remember what he's working on now, because he asked me the other day to do some voice stuff for him, which I hate my voice. I don't know why anyone wants to use it for anything. Anyway, what time is it? Holy cow. I thought this would be quick. I didn't expect so many people to show up. So we're going to start wrapping it up. I know there's a lot of people questions. Again, we're going to be back
Tuesday.
What did I say? Tuesday. And I'm not opposed to doing these again as well. Jake also has his schedule. I mean, we could do it without Jake if we had to, but it'll be harder for me. But I'm not opposed to doing these. So if we don't get to your question tonight, I apologize. And we definitely probably won't get to all your questions during the interviews on the 21st. But definitely come to Movers Show on Monday night, because I'm supposed to be there. Did you ever want to fly helo off the back of a ship? Absolutely. When I went to brag out of flight school, the troop or the company that I went to, because I went to the attack battalion, that was like their thing, I guess. Like, that company had like the ship mission in the unit, but this was kind of like right as the war in Iraq was starting and stuff. And so they would routinely go out and do the ship stuff, but because of the high op tempo of deployments, that got nixed. So I've never got to do it. I would have loved to do it. I don't know if Brundus, if he's still there, if he's ever done any ship stuff, but I think that'd be very cool. Everyone hates their voice. Well, that's true. Let's see. I hate that a bunch of my class washed out in the bag phase. We're all tired at this point. Yeah, the bag was awful. The first time I did the bag, I just went back to my hotel and I just sat in the chair for like an hour and a half and I just stared at the ceiling. The next day I did the bag, I bought a pizza and just smashed it. Like, it was just like, you got over it. But yeah, I watched some people struggle with the bag. It's not fun. It's not fun. Yeah, culture is a big deal. Well, A-Rock, thank you for your time. And yes, a big thank you to Jake. So Jake has volunteered his time to do this. He's going to be there again on Tuesday, and backing me up so I can focus on interview. I think you guys will enjoy it. I think it's going to be fun. In fact, I just interviewed him, talking about Matt Petratus. Again, like I said, he was my troop commander. He's this little guy. He's the little guy in the picture. You can't quite see it. I'll have it that night. But he went on to command a squadron of Apaches in the Army, retired, and now he does, I think he works like doing drone stuff or something as a contractor or whatever. But he was my commander when I was a warrant officer. We've been friends. We were together when I got shot. So we've known each other for 20 years at this point. We've been friends that whole time. So I just had him on the Authentic Media. I should get a link for that and I'll put it in here or something. But if you haven't checked out Authentic Media, it's like a subscription service. I think it's like $5 a month. And there's like a couple podcast type things there every month. So they've got like John Rain from Afterburn Podcast. He's doing stuff. I think Mooch does stuff over there. I do occasionally. And we're kind of like free agents. So we just kind of go out and do like interesting stories and then like give it to them. And then they, you know, whatever. I say give it to, we sell it to them. But I'm doing a series over there that I'm calling My First Time. In fact, Barundas is going to be on there as well. We're going to get together hopefully this week. I talked to another guy we're going to do this week as well. And it's really just like a first time experience. So like Barundas, much like me, was shot. So we're going to talk about like his experiences with that type of situation and that engagement and things like that. With Matt, he was in the invasion in Iraq and that was his first deployment. So we talk a little bit about that. So you can check that out. Again, Authentic Media is where you can find that. And I think they have a code. If you use Casmo as the code, you get like, you know, whatever. So yeah, where's Jake's channel? No, Jake's not a channel guy. He's just a dude. He's just a dude. But anyway, the bag was doo-doo. It was indeed. It makes you want to doo-doo sometimes. And what's funny is the guy I flew with was one of the original Apache pilots. So like when the Apache came out, they were like, we need dudes to fly this. So they grabbed like this batch of Army guys and they put them through training. And when they all got done, they all signed each other off because there was really no one to sign them off. Right. So they were like inventing the wheel. And I didn't realize this about the guy. I can't remember his name, Crowley, something like that. And I was waiting one time and I was sitting and this maintenance guy was talking to me, this old dude, maintenance guy. And he was like, who do you fly with? And I was like, I told him. He's like, and his eye, like you could tell like his face changed. And he was like, that guy, he's a legend. And I was like, really? And he's like, he's one of the original 6 or whatever it was. I was like, oh, what's that mean? So one day I ran into him at the bar at Mother Ruckers there on a post. And I asked him, I was like, hey, somebody said you were one of the original 6. Like, what does that mean? And he started laughing and he started telling us about it. Like, yeah, we all signed each other off and stuff. Like, we didn't know what we were doing. You know, we all flew Cobras and they pulled us in and stuff. So anyway, when I flew the bag the first time, I got out and I was swapping with the other student. And he put in a big old mouthful of chaw, you know, and I'm feeling like I'm green as my shirt right now. And he looked out the window at me, you know, the engine's still running and everything. The APU's running and I'm getting out and he's sitting there in the front seat and he just looks at me and he just like, he holds up the bag like, you want some? And I was like, just felt so disgusting. The bag is when they cover up the windows. If you don't know what the bag is when they cover up all the windows in the back seat and you have to fly completely with the PENVIS, the pilot's night vision sight. So if you ever watch Firebirds, fantastic movie, you'll see what the bag is, but it's challenging. It's challenging to say the least.
Thank you, Nate.
So Nate, yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I can't wait for it to come out as well. So people will stop asking me when it comes out. And Movers show. Yes, Movers, Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Mover and Gonky. And Gonky's got decent internet now, so it's not a slideshow of Gonky. All right. Well, I'm gonna shut this down somehow. Did you find the video, Jake?
I've got the video.
We got to test.
I've got the video.
Test this.
I'll give you a little music before we play the video.
Oh,
okay. Some outro music.
Ooh. Yeah. We're figuring it out live, people, and you've all been part of our experiment. So thanks for hanging out. Appreciate all your questions, all the super chats. Thank you so much. Very nice. We are going to try to do the outro video now, and then I'm going to shut it down, and we'll see you guys Monday night. Thanks a lot. Jake, take it away. Interesting.
I've taken it away.
Go full screen. Go full screen.
Tuesday.
Bye, everybody.